Welcome to Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Palmer, and so we're in Long Beach today, and we are speaking with Mike Langston. He is the police chief in Signal Hill, a city surrounded by Long Beach. And so I want to thank you so much for joining us. A lot of discussion citywide, statewide, nationwide about the use of cameras by law enforcement.
Right.
Talk to us about your views generally about the use of cameras and capturing video live when folks are out in the field.
Well, first, thanks for having me here. It's a great topic. Glad to be here to talk about it today. I think you have to first understand the history of the Signal Hill Police Department.
Please.
The department has used in-car cameras for about 15 years.
Wow.
It was one of the early innovators of using in-car cameras as far as law enforcement agencies go.
Why? I know you weren't there 15 years ago, but why?
Well, you know, I can't really speak to why. My understanding is that, you know, there were, the council wanted these as a tool to help with the professionalism of the department and accountability. And it's a city that's very concerned about accountability and so forth. And so they were adopted 15 years or so ago. We're in our third generation of in-car camera equipment.
And do you feel as if this tool has been effective, efficient, and beneficial, not just for law enforcement, but for your customers, let's call them?
Oh, I think absolutely. It's created a culture in the department of high level of professionalism and accountability. We do hold ourselves very accountable. There's policies related to when and where and how the cameras should be activated and utilized and so forth.
And let me ask you about that, because as I understand it, as it relates to the in-car cameras, are they on? Well, let me ask, is each department different, and are they on at all times?
They're not on at all times, although they have a feature that essentially has them recording at all times. Once they're activated, and there's a couple different ways to activate them, they will go back and pick up 30 to 45 seconds before they're actually activated.
Okay.
So particularly in a situation of a traffic stop, which is one of the situations where they're required to be turned on. Actually, they're turned on automatically under that set of circumstances.
If the car stops, it knows.
Once the officer activates the light bar, it automatically turns the camera on.
Brilliant.
So it goes back 30, 45 seconds. And what that typically does is it actually catches the violation that the officer saw.
It's like the start over for digital video recorder on our televisions.
Yeah, they're very effective for a lot of reasons, for evidentiary purposes, obviously, in court. They're a great tool for us to use regarding our professional standards. Do
you use them as a teaching tool as well? In addition to evidence, do you ever go back and say, look, this went well, maybe tinker here a bit?
Oftentimes we use any kind of situation where we conduct a review of our performance or our conduct as a tool for teaching. So if we find some situation that would be a good teaching tool, we do use it for that circumstance.
So as we march through 2015, the big question becomes for many law enforcement agencies is, should officers have body cams?
Absolutely.
And those are the cameras that tend to be on the tie or the lapel. They're fairly unobtrusive.
Right.
And Signal Hill is considering the adoption of body cams. Talk to us about your view of body cams philosophically before we decide, before we talk about where Signal Hill is going.
Well, again, because we've had in-car cameras for so long, the transition to body-worn cameras, or the addition of body-worn cameras, because we're not getting rid of the in-car cameras, the addition of body-worn cameras is really a natural progression for us. And so we've been looking at this really for the last 2.5, 3 years or so, preparing to eventually deploy body-worn cameras. And that was a process that started out with us looking at the different pieces of equipment that were out there, then looking at policy issues. Those are really primarily the most important, because now with the body-worn camera, you're going into places where the in-car camera wouldn't normally go, specifically people's homes and businesses and so forth.
And let's talk about that, because that is one area that's caused some concern.
Sure.
Is the privacy question.
Right.
It's one thing if you have a traffic stop and then the officer hits the body cam, and so you're getting kind of the conversation. But when you walk into someone's home, are there privacy concerns? I mean, if you walk into someone's home, presumably you either have a warrant or probable cause to walk in.
Well, a warrant, probable cause, or you're invited in.
Invited in,
most of the
or
time,
exigent circumstances.
Sure,
I'm remembering back from my law school days, so forgive me.
all those issues. But most of the time, when we go someplace, we're there because we've been called to go there. We've been asked to go there. So we're let in to conduct whatever investigation we were asked to come there to do. So there are issues that relate to the videotaping, and obviously it depends on what kind of situation we're going there for. If we're going there for perhaps to investigate a sexual assault, we are going to probably not use the camera in that situation, that set of circumstances. But these are all part of the development of the policy that we're working on.
So let me ask you, as you indicated, you're developing the policy, but I understand Signal Hill is moving in that direction. So what is your sense of how the body cam will be used? Will it be turned on by the officer? Will there be an automatic trigger, as you described, for what you have in terms of vehicles? Yeah,
there doesn't appear to be technology that allows it to be automatically controlled or turned on by anyone other than the wearer. So the officer will be responsible for turning it on. Again, we already in our in-car camera have a set of circumstances that require it to be turned on. It's not going to change much from there. The issues that we're going to be primarily dealing with is once we go into a place where maybe there is more of an expectation of privacy, like someone's home. And so that's where we're going to have to make decisions.
The flip side is, okay, so you don't want to violate privacy, but if you go into someone's home, you're recording, I presume you're not going to broadcast it.
Well, we will be telling people that we are recording. In fact, in most circumstances, we will, if the opportunity presents itself, we will tell the person that we are recording this contact. In the home, if there's a decision made to not initially record for some reason, we will have an expectation that the officer will identify the reason why the camera is being turned off, if it was on initially, which it most likely will be.
I see.
And then if for some reason things aren't turning out well, they will probably turn it back on, really for the benefit of everyone involved.
What do your officers think about this possibility? As I understand, you are buying enough cameras for all officers.
That's correct.
To wear the body cam. So what do all the officers think about this?
Again, our officers, the officers that are currently working with the department, most of them have come up in the organization and have used cameras their entire career.
So like you said, 15 years in cars.
Our officers have really embraced this concept. They're the ones that have been testing it and making the recommendations on what equipment.
Yeah, and I understand you had a field test with a couple of your supervisors. How'd it go?
It went great. They tested, I think, 4 or 5 different body-worn cameras and came up with one that we're looking at now to make a purchase. And we still got a few steps to go in that direction.
And have you looked into the storage question, where all the video will be stored?
Yes. We're going to, there's a lot of different options, but the option we're going to use is we're going to store it in-house on our own servers, our own network.
And how long will you keep the footage?
Well, there's actually state law that mandates at a minimum how long you keep certain types of evidence, including routine recordings.
I see.
Now, if it's a routine recording, then we follow that particular guideline. If it becomes evidence in a criminal trial, then there's a whole separate set of rules that we follow. But there's actually, these decisions are not made willy-nilly. There's actually state law that already dictates for us how that works.
He is Mike Langston. He is the police chief of the city of Signal Hill, California. My name is Brad Pomerantz. You've been watching Charter Local Edition.